Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 trailer for Hightown. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But obviously, getting some context, obviously continuing because everything was left unresolved last season. We do see Jackie, which I had to look her name up because I could not remember Jackie's name for the life of me. They might even said it in the trailer, but I didn't hear it. But because I kept being like, Monica? I was like, no, Monica's the name of the actress who plays the character. But yeah, Jackie. Regardless, I definitely have to go back and rewatch Season 1. I remember a lot, but I also feel like there's quite a bit I'm forgetting as well. But nevertheless, Jackie is working, like, I don't know if she's still playing like almost like a liaison role, because we see her with Ed later on, so that makes me think like, oh, she still has her old job as well, right? So she's playing more like liaison in this regard, right? Also, good on Jackie, like, I mean, at least from what we saw in the trailer, we didn't see her like getting high, so I think she's kind of definitely like, she's in the, I think there's an interesting place, like, an interesting thing you could say of like, her and Ray were on like opposite sides of the spectrum of where they were, and like as the season was progressing, you see Jackie kind of go up and down, and I feel like Ray was more on a straight decline to a certain regard. So, but obviously she's playing that, she's filling that cop role, which is complicated because for Ray, it's like his entire badge, his entire career basically got blown up with the whole Renee situation, and Frankie's out, so that's a middle finger to him and everything that, you know, because he wanted to keep Frankie locked up, but he got too close to Renee, which I still feel like the whole Renee thing, like, it was just her being like, oh, he's just using me, feeling used, because like when he was signing stuff, it was just kind of like, oh, like, he was making it seem like his time with her was on the clock, but also it was like, oh, I just meeting with a informant, like that's all it was, like, oh, I don't really care about you, I'm just pumping you for information, that's all it was, and that's what made her finally decide to pick Frankie over him. But going back to my point, like, I just think it's so interesting, like, she's like trying to be like the more stable one, and obviously for Ray, like, he doesn't have the badge, but he's trying to point like Jackie in the right direction. I guess like we even see him kind of get beat up over the course of in the trailer, so I'm assuming he does a lot of like unofficial work too, like he's still jumping into this. That's why she's like, I'm the one with the actual badge. But obviously it's so interesting because like these two people's lives are connected because they both want to take Frankie down for different reasons. Obviously, it's like, right, it stems from the fact is that, you know, Jackie found the whole Sherry situation is kind of intertwined, both of their stories. They both had two different entry points when it came to Sherry into this story, but the end result is the same, and now like the roles are kind of reversed, where like Jackie was on the outside looking in last season, where Ray is now on the outside looking in. Which, speaking of Ray, like in that regard, you know, and of him and Renee, it's like, oh, it's like he's going to therapy. It's like, oh, are you still having those nightmares about Renee? And I'm curious, like, what those nightmares entail. Like, is he scared that like Frankie's going to find out, like finally snap and kill her? I mean, she's the mother of his child, so I don't see him doing that. But Frankie is crazy, so that's not completely out there. But. And it seems like, I guess, like at one point you see her looking out her window, and I'm wondering, does she know like Ray's kind of stalking her? He's kind of like obsessed with her, so he can't let go. And, you know, I'm sure like for her, it's like, right, like I chose Frankie because I was hurt and everything, and I thought this is kind of the better of the options, but is she going to regret it? Because it definitely seems like, well, she was already tiptoeing that way last season, but this, from what we saw in the trailer, it definitely seems like she's neck deep in all this. And obviously if Frankie's back in your life, and I'm sure like maybe that fast life and everything is going to come back to bite her when like her son really gets maybe mixed up or drawn into it, maybe that's going to lead to some regrets. But maybe the regrets are early on in this season, and then the rest of the season is just like, nah, I'm in it to win it. I'm going into full throttle, or full throttle in certain regards. But other than that, we also see, like, I'm blanking on it, but it's the little girl. Well, I say little girl, she's probably like a teenager, but she took over like things kind of when like Ozita was like removed from the equation. Like she took over like at the very end of the season, so we see her and Frankie kind of like button heads, because she's like, yeah, I'm the one running this operation now, so like they're kind of working together. So once again, Frankie's kind of unpredictable and crazy, so I don't know if that's going to necessarily work out as a happily ever after for her. Something I am curious about is the whole Junior thing, because obviously that's another reason for Jackie to get like involved in this, because she wants to like get justice for him. Because I talked about it during my review at the time. I was under the impression like, right, Junior just like relapsed and he just like ended up overdosing, but then someone had hit me up and commented like, oh, they interpret that as like Ocito killing him, because it was like, because they keep it ambiguous that you're like, I'm not quite sure what that, because I think, to my recollection, once again, I have to rewatch it, I don't think even in the season finale they gave you clarity on that. I don't think there's any clarity. Maybe we'll get clarity this season on whether or not he was responsible for that. But you also have like Osito on the other side of it. Like, it's like, yeah, he came to visit Frankie all the time to get marching orders, but now it's like Osito's on the inside and Frankie's on the outside visiting him. So I mean, it's kind of like Osito kind of went his own way. That was the whole point. So, like, Frankie's got no sympathy for him. So I think Frankie just pops in probably just to kind of gloat a little bit and stuff like that. So, like, oh, like your entire operation you try to do on the sides, like, don't worry about it. I've taken over it. There's new management and stuff like that. So you're cut out of the middle of this. So what Osito's role is definitely going to be this season is going to be interesting. Obviously, you have, like, Alan still being pissed at Ray because, like I said, Ray blew up their entire, like, Frankie case and stuff like that with his shenanigans. So, is it, like, obviously, you know, it's about Jackie's redemption, like, over the course of season 1, and I think this is going to be kind of the peak of her redemption, but I'm curious, will we see the same thing with Ray? Like, will he get to his point of redemption? I just get the feeling like because, like, season 1 ended very depressingly. Like, it wasn't, like, like, at least some form of victory. It's just all, like, everything kind of went wrong. Well, for everyone else except for Frankie. Frankie's the only one that kind of came out okay, like, at the end of season 1. So I kind of wonder, are they going to keep that with, like, even season 2 of, like, yeah, things might get resolved in certain cases, but it's just, like, a lot of stuff is probably, like, it's probably not going to have a happy ending. And I think that's probably just the nature of the show in general. Like, don't expect any happy endings. Things are just going to be depressing. This video most likely won't go up. It's Wednesday at the time of me recording this. So this video probably won't go up until maybe next Friday, just because of the way I've got my next videos planned / scheduled out. So, but regardless, these are just some of my thoughts. I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. What are some things you want to see from this season? What are some things you expect to see? Let me know. Really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.